sounds like a good thing. Is that a good thing? See, the blessing follows the promise. The promise of what? Through Abraham, through Isaac, through Jacob, right? Who turns into Israel. Then through Israel, through Judah, then to kings and David, and then all the way up to Jesus. So when you're breaking free of that, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a positive thing. In fact, this doesn't seem like much of a blessing at all. It doesn't seem like anything's going to come easy for Esau. It doesn't seem like he's going to get the best portions of the land. It doesn't seem like he's going to live in comfort and security and safety and not have much to worry about. In fact, it says he'll live by the sword. He'll have to defend himself. He'll have to fight for what's his. But by faith, Isaac was a faithful man. It was prophesied by God before they were ever born. And even though Isaac was about to bless Esau, he blessed Jacob, who was the one that was supposed to be the entire time. And even though he was about to bless Esau with what he blessed Jacob with, he told him the truth about what was going to happen with him and his descendants. Here's the thing, though. If Isaac is just a normal man, if there was nothing outside of this faith, how could he have been accurate? How could he have been accurate? Because he was being guided by the Lord. Now, we're going to come back to that. I want you to think about this. And one of the things I've been pointing out slowly, which we're really going to nail home tonight, is the messiness in Scripture. It's a mess. You know why? Not because of God, because of us. We're the mess. He's not a mess. He's got everything perfectly planned out. He's got everything lined up in His will. We're the ones that make it a mess. We're the ones that make it difficult. Okay? And I want you to see this. All right, by faith, Jacob, this is verse 21. By faith, Jacob, when dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph, bowing in worship over the head of his staff. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about the birthright for just a second. Abraham was promised by God. Right? That's where the covenant starts. That's that man that everything starts with. Okay? Then who gets blessed next? Isaac, right? Was Isaac the firstborn of Abraham? He was the firstborn of Abraham and Sarah. But was he the firstborn of Abraham? No, he was not. Ishmael was, right? All right, go down a little further. So now you have Isaac, who was not the firstborn. Then you have Jacob. Was Jacob the firstborn? We just discussed that, right? No, he wasn't. Who does the promise go through in the 12 tribes of Israel? Does it go through Reuben? Was Reuben the firstborn? Yes, he was. Was it Simeon? Levi? Judah? Fourth? What was Joseph? The 11th? Flip it over. Is he the second? I know, I'm reaching on that one. But think about this. Because the birthright was extremely important. Extremely important to the Israelites, to the Jews. But truth be told, even from the beginning, everything didn't always just go to whoever was born first. Why? Because faith also can lead you in directions that you don't necessarily expect, or that sometimes go against traditions, or that sometimes go against the norms. Okay? And that's what we're seeing here. Now we're getting to Ephraim and Manasseh. And I was going to go through and give you scriptures kind of like what we just did right there, but we're all familiar with Joseph, right? I don't need to prove to you that everything I'm saying is accurate, but if I do say something wrong, please show it to me. All right? But Joseph, what happens with him? He's favored by his dad. His brothers know he's favored by his dad, and he's the type of son that he'll go out there and tell his brothers, man, my dad loves me. Loves me. Look at my new jacket. You never had a jacket like this. Right? I don't know if that's really what he said, but they didn't like it. They didn't like it. So what happens? He goes out, and they're going to kill him. And then they see a caravan going by, and they say, you know what, I don't really want to kill him. Let's sell him into slavery. And then they go back and they tell their dad, he died. Attacked by wild animals. Right? From there, he's a slave. Joseph becomes a slave. And through that process, he's bought up by Potiphar. And Potiphar has a wife that thinks Joseph is just beautiful. And we all know where that goes, right? Joseph ends up fleeing without much on because Potiphar's wife is trying to seduce him. Well, that jig's up now too. What does she do? When Potiphar comes home, what's she say? I tried to sleep with Joseph and he rejected me? That probably wasn't going to go over well. So what does she say? She says, hey, Joseph, your slave, he tried to force himself on me. So Potiphar gets him thrown in jail. Right? Eventually, through the dreams and the prophecies and the special talents that God has given Joseph, where does Joseph end? He ends in the palace of the Pharaoh. He ends up being the right hand of the Pharaoh. He ends up showing the Pharaoh that he's connected to the real, true, living God. Some amazing things happen in Joseph's life. But before you move on from that, how many things happened in Joseph's life that were straight injustices? A lot. A lot of Joseph's life was injustice. A lot. If you had to live Joseph's life, once you got to the palace, it might have felt pretty good, right? And Joseph has that full circle moment when his brothers come to visit him, right? And he realizes that God is telling him, or that God has allowed all this to happen to him so that he can spare the bloodline of Jesus, so that he can save his family. But those years in prison were probably rough. That time that he spent in prison probably didn't feel very fair. And it wasn't. Because he was an innocent man that got thrown in prison for actually doing the right thing. Right? He was a slave before that because of his brother's hatred and animosity towards him. What did he really do? We don't know of anything he really did. Shared some dreams that God had given him. What did happen because of Joseph's life? Well, Joseph married the Egyptian. And his children were not purebloods of the pure bloodline. They weren't really heirs of the promise of the old covenant. Which is why you end up with 2 half-tribes instead of 1 full tribe. Now, if you don't remember this moment, some interesting things happen. Because Joseph understands the importance and the power of the blessing, probably because the traditions and the stories had been passed down from generation to generation as a family. This was the story of your family. So he's got 2 sons.